Man.
On today's podcast, we'll be discussing the lessons learned from two first-year head coaches. This is Mark Holcomb, joined by Kirk Brown with the Football Coaches Corner podcast. Today on the podcast, we're talking to Oak Grove head football coach Rob Creason and Tunstall head football coach Kirk Brown about the lessons that they learned as first-year head coaches at their programs. A recording of our podcast will be available through the podcast vehicle of your choice, as well as the YouTube channel, Football Coaches Corner. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you like what you hear. Guys, to be honest, Kirk, talking to you, I feel like stepbrothers today. It's like when they walk in and go, okay, so how about us interviewing you? So that's kind of what I feel like today with this thing. So no, it'll be kind of different for us. So Coach Creason, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you giving up time to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it. All right, so let's get right into this. Coach Creason, you go first. If you would tell the guys listening to the podcast a little background about what led you into the position that you're currently at today.
Okay, so my name's Rob Creason. I'm the head coach at Oak Grove. Like you just said, I guess what led me there today. My first coaching job was at North Davidson High School under yourself. I was an assistant coach there, and I played there and went to high school there, and that's where I kind of was brought up in it. And then I went with you again to a new school, Oak Grove. It was a brand new school built in 2016. I was the defensive coordinator there for 6 years, and then you retired, and I was fortunate enough to apply for the job and get the job, and going on my second year there, and this coming fall, and just a lot of really fortunate situations along the way that kind of led me to where I'm at. So really blessed to be in the position I'm in, and to go through all those things to kind of get to where I'm at now.
So you're blaming it on me. That's what I keep hearing. So yeah.
Well, when we get into this thing, I'll really talk. It feels like a extreme home makeover, but we'll get into that later.
Okay. I appreciate that. Coach Brown, how about you? Tell the listeners about how you got where you're at now.
I started coaching in 2015 as a graduate assistant at Averett, where I graduated from for a couple of years, and then was fortunate enough to start teaching and was at North Davidson for a semester before, like Coach Creason stated, jumped on board and got over to Oak Grove, and was with you guys for 4 years over there. Really enjoyed that, and then had the opportunity to be the offensive coordinator back at Averett for a couple of years during COVID. That taught me a lot, just, how to be a head coach, how to not be a head coach, things that you like and what you don't like. And then got out of that. I was at Chatham High School for just a year, then just took over at Tunstall last year. So kind of been all over the place, back and forth, but definitely a lot of unique experiences has kind of shaped where I'm at right now.
All right. Yeah, Coach Creason, how old are you right now?
33.
All right. Coach Brown, how old are you right now?
32.
So both of you guys are relatively young in the head coaching world, I would say. All right, I'm going to jump back to you, Coach Brown. What has been your biggest challenge transitioning from an assistant coach and a coordinator to a head coach?
I guess just all the things you have to worry about, things that you don't think about as a position coach or a coordinator. I'm just trying to figure out what the script looks like for next day's practice, script my 12 skelly plays, 12 team plays, and, as a coordinator. And then now as a head coach, worrying about the entire practice plan, worrying about, the equipment we need, worrying about, if Johnny brought his concussion form or his physical, if it's up to date, and, making sure we have snacks for after practice, and, who needs a helmet, things of that nature. So just the multitude of things that, doesn't necessarily fall on your plate as an assistant. There's nobody to divvy that off to as a head coach. And so I think, there was times my first year that I was just swimming, trying to stay afloat. And I probably neglected football a lot in terms of side of the ball, just because I was trying to make sure everything else was done. But that's probably been the biggest challenge for me that I've faced, and still, still learning to cope with too, just in year two.
Yeah. All right, Coach Creason, your biggest challenge from transitioning to a coordinator to a head coach now?
I think, you know, obviously the management piece of it, like Coach was talking about, all those things, equipment, practice schedule, all those things that's definitely difficult. I think for me was learning from the previous head coach. I think that the thing for me was utilizing people on staff and feeling comfortable at delegating and being able to see other people's abilities and have them use that to help in the goal of what we had to get done. I'm blessed to have a really good staff of guys who really love football. So, you know, having guys do something that I would typically do, but just trusting them to do it on their own, whether it be laundry or field maintenance. But I think that was the most challenging thing is I guess asking, not just bearing the weight myself, but being able to find guys who want to get things done and ask those guys, because as a coordinator, I was the one being asked a lot. So a lot of times it's, I was quick to jump on those things as a coordinator, but as a head coach, now you got to navigate who's going to be there to help you in the summer, who's going to be there to help you with field maintenance, who's going to be there to help you with laundry. And, I was just fortunate to have a lot of guys who wanted to be able to do those things. So, just asking, I guess, and utilizing your staff.
I mean, and I didn't have any questions about staff, but I think the importance of a staff, especially on a new coach, and people that want to be there and people that want to do those things. It's always nice, I think, to have people on your staff that want to be head coaches, because they're going to work right beside of you. So,
Great.
Yeah, I think kind of piggybacking off that for your staff, like for me, like you said, I'm 33 years old, but I've been coaching for, I think this is year 14 for me coming up. So I've been doing it a long time, but we also have two head coaches on staff, or two former head coaches on staff, actually three if you count our consultant, self-titled consultant. But we have, three former head coaches on staff. So just relying on those guys has been huge. And again, building that chemistry with those guys has been really essential for me as a first year coach.
all right. Okay, Coach Creason, looking back on this past season, and this could be on the field, off the field, whatever, are there any specific areas that you feel like you learned a lot about being a head coach that you previously didn't know, or did you feel like you'd been kind of exposed to most of it?
I mean, I felt like I was exposed to quite a bit. The things that catch you off guard are the things that no one prepares for, I guess. Like, you got a kid that's not showing up at practice because of something coming up, or he's sick, or somebody dies in the family, and now you got to run through your mind whether he's going to be there Thursday or Friday. So I think the things that I learned was, you can't necessarily prepare for everything. You have to be very flexible. And I think I grew a lot in that, rolling with the punches, doing whatever needed to be done on that specific day, and reacting to whatever the task may be.
All right, Coach Brown, what about you? On the field, off the field, what's an area you feel like you learned a lot about that you didn't previously know?
I touched on some of the challenges. That's kind of the off the field stuff. I think the big thing for me, was just the game management part, not necessarily that I didn't know how to. It's just, as a coordinator, you're really just concerned about, at times first, second, third down, and then you ask the head coach, hey, is this 4-down territory or not? So you can try to prepare. But I think when you get in, these shoes, and you really, it's kind of hard to prepare for it until you're in these scenarios, deciding on certain special teams moves, deciding, defensively, how much of a hand am I going to have in that? What are some things I'm going to be telling those guys? Then offensively, instead of being selfish as a coordinator, how, what do I need to do to best put us in a situation, whether it's, deciding to go for it on fourth down or trying to pin somebody deep, just understanding the entire game management part, utilizing timeouts. That's something that, you don't really have to think about sometimes as a coordinator. But just the in-game management stuff was, obviously from week 1 to week 10, I definitely grew, as a coach, and, didn't do, everything perfect. And there's a lot of things that I wish I could have back, but but now I know going forward, some, certain situations, but just making sure that I'm, handling those things on the field as best as I can, talking to, talking to officials. That's something small, but, as a coordinator, I guess you feel like you can say sometimes what you want to, or maybe be, be upset about things, but as a head coach, you've got to kind of be in the middle, and kind of be the mediator sometimes to make sure you're going to get calls later in the game. So that's just some small things that I don't feel like you go through until you're in that situation. And it was really tough to kind of prepare for.
I think we just keep going back to the same thing, on the job training. I mean, everything, all the stuff, like you said, the paperwork, the equipment, handling officials, do it all. It's on the job training. And, people always used to tell me all the time, you're never ready to be a head coach until you're a head coach. And I think that's true in any sport you're doing or anything. It's just, there's a lot of stuff in there. So getting back to your staff a little bit, and Coach Brown, I'll let you go first on this one. How did you build chemistry with your coaches and also with your players?
I think this is a good conversation to have with, with both of us. We kind of have different situations where, Rob was in a situation where he knew, I would say 95% of his staff, and it wasn't like they were really new and players were. And I was kind of the opposite. I went into a situation where, I brought 3 guys that I was able to hire that I had known previously, on the staff, and then player wise didn't know anybody. So for me, it was just about building trust with those guys, and then trying to do things, after workouts, after, practice, do things on the weekend, just to try to, build some camaraderie between the staff, and, let them kind of see, how serious I am about things, but also that there's another side to me that we can, be friends, and we can, socialize, and things of that nature. And I think that, Mark, you've probably said it before, but, you get a lot more out of people if they know you and they know your intentions and stuff. And so I think that's really what I try to do early on with my staff, is just obviously get to know those guys, let them get to know me, bring my wife around, bring my daughter around, and then with the players and I guess parents and whatnot, just, try to build that trust with them. There was a lot of broken trust, when I got here. This is still an uphill battle for me, but, let them know that it's going to be something different. And, the results might not be different right now, but the process is going to be different. And then, they're going to yield, different results. So just making sure they understand my intentions with things, and just, showing those guys love and just building trust. It's kind of a fine line between, establishing something that's yours, and then making sure that they feel, feel the love from you, and things of that nature. But, it's definitely been, different for me, just jumping into a whole new world, different state, people that I don't really know. And, but it's been good, and we're still building that chemistry, with coaches and players and parents. So.
Yeah. Coach Creason, I know, you and I worked together, and you came up with the Grizzly games to kind of build the relationships with the kids, and the camaraderie with the kids. I think that, that was a big one, but, and that could be an entire podcast. That whole thing that you came up with was, it just worked well. But, how would you say, you build the chemistry with your coaches and your players?
I think, two things that I talk about all the time when I talk about the importance of coaching or building a staff, or being present with the players is, the 2 main points that I like to think about are be authentic and be present. So, what I mean by that is like for me, coming up as a young coach, and this is more, I guess, geared towards the players, build trust and chemistry with them is, a lot of times when as a young coach, I tried to play the role as a coach, tried to be the coach that I thought I was supposed to be. I think, the big thing with kids is they can see through anything that's fake. So building chemistry with them, I am me. I don't try to be anybody else. I've learned over the years that, uh, they're either going to like me or they're not going to like me, but I can't be anybody else. I think that's a big thing. Just kind of be who I am, and I don't try to avoid that. So I'm a goofy guy. I like to have fun. I'm present at a lot of different things. So like that's who I am. And then be present is, with the kids, especially like be where they need you to be. And all kids are different. Some kids don't need you around all the time. Some kids need you there 24/7. So, um, I'm at basketball games. I'm at baseball games. I'm at softball games. I'm at, sporting events. Uh, we have a volunteer program right now where kids are going volunteering, and I'm there. And so I'm just trying to be present in their lives. And I think if they can consistently see me and see who I am, the unique things about me, then that'll build trust. And again, the more we're around each other, the more chemistry is yielded. So that's a really good thing to do. And then as far as with the coach staff, like Coach Brown touched on, I've known a lot of these guys for this past decade. I was a part of the original staff here. We were in a really fortunate situation that when the school was built, we got to hire a lot of guys, and I know there's been some turnover there, but um, we still have had, even in the hiring process, um, I like to claim myself as one of the best recruiters of good coaches and good people in the business. And so I work really hard with our principal and our administration to try to get guys that I know that will be good for our program and good for our school and our building. And um, that comes from, you know, how I feel about those guys and the trust that we've built on the staff. But uh, I would say that I coach with a lot of my best friends. We're together all the time. We're together on the weekends. I was with some of them earlier today at a graduation party. But I think just being around each other, being present, and being yourself, those are huge points that always build chemistry. If you try to fake it, it's not going to work.
Yep. And the big thing that keeps coming up again and again and again with both you guys is relationships. And we hear the buzzword of culture all the time when we hear that. But to me, culture is what you do every day, and relationships are things that you build every day, and you can build them up or tear them down just by one comment. So, but you got to pour a lot into the kids, I think, too. So, Coach Creason, let's go with you next with this. What role do you see parents and the Booster Club playing in the program?
I think I think we're all stakeholders in this thing. I think that I think parents are huge and can sway the whole culture of your team. I tried to build our my relationship with parents into the overall culture of our locker room because a wise man once said, I can't defend myself at your kitchen table." So, and that I think that goes a long way, and that's something that I like to say at the beginning of the year, and I've heard it a lot in my life. But I think that if you get the parents on your side and they believe in what you're doing just as much as the kids do, um, then the conversations down the road become a lot easier. Same with the Booster Club. I think it's a huge part of what we do is not only building young men but building a community. Parents are a huge part. Booster Club's a huge part, and you definitely want the support of both of those things. And if we can all work together to kind of move this thing in the right direction, then that's the best thing we can do.
I know a lot of people listening to this might have different setups with booster clubs, and might have a football booster club and a baseball booster club and a basketball booster club. And I know that at Oak Grove we were kind of under one umbrella, and so it's you're the head football coach, but you're correct. You want the tennis team to do well, and you want everybody else to do well, and understand that's a part of the whole process with the parents and with the booster club. So, Coach Brown, how's your booster club set up?
So we actually, we have a school-wide booster club that meets monthly, very similar to Oak Grove's. And then we actually, we have our own football booster club. And so really that's just so that I don't have to get a PO every time I want to buy a new football, or I need to get a PO every time I want to, go get a loaf of bread to feed the guys after summer workouts. Really that's what, that's what it comes down to. It's just, a little bit more flexible in terms of things I want to spend money on. But, I think when it talks about, booster club conversations, as soon as I got hired, I tried to be involved as much as I can. I go to every meeting just to show my face, whether I'm asking for something or not. I've worked concession stand. I've done, a lot of things that they've asked me to do, because there is a lot of support, from these other sports to us. And, they like to joke that, football brings in all the money, things of that nature. But, if I'm not showing my support in those other things, and they're not going to want to give me, any money for anything that I asked for, or if there's something that we need, how willing are they going to be to, come out of the pocket for it? So, I've tried to get involved, from day one, with our booster club. And then, talking about parents, I just try to over communicate. I probably communicate way too much, but I make sure that I put calendars out really early. I make sure that I communicate, a lot of stuff, so there's not a whole lot of, I don't knows. And we really didn't have a whole lot of issues this past year in terms of parents and things that they might have to say or whatnot. I just tell them to let us coach, to let us handle their kids, and obviously if there's any wrongdoings, let us know. But we have the best interest, and I think what helps is that a lot of the guys on my staff are very deep, in the community, been there for a long time. So I think that by gaining their support, I think that's also in turn helped the support from the parents as well. Is because there's not a whole lot of going back and forth. I think that our coaches do a good job of representing themselves in the community, and so I think the parent buy-in's been really good from that perspective. I just think it comes down to trust as well. Just making sure that I'm building trust with them. Just like Rob said, so that they can, hopefully, give you trust, and just, put everything in your hands in terms of, looking out for their kid, on the field, off the field, in the classroom. And I think that's something that we've tried to do as well. And I know that we did that at Oak Grove with the progress reports, is just, I'm constantly checking up on grades, making sure kids are staying for tutoring, things of that nature. And it goes a long way when I'm communicating with parents about their kids' grade, maybe before they know about it. And so that's kind of been, the approach I've taken, is kind of get to it early and get to it before the parents do, so that there's no questions on my end, or there's no, lack of trust. I know it's kind of long-winded, but I think that you've, definitely gonna fight an uphill battle if you don't show any support, in the booster club, like Rob said, with all the sports, whether that's going to games, whether that's working, and then with the parents as well.
Okay. All right, skipping around a little bit. Both of you guys are young coaches. You have young families. So, and this is something that I struggled with a lot earlier in my career. But how do you balance the demands of coaching with your personal life, your off the field life, your family life? So, Coach Brown, I'll let you hit on that first.
I think something that I've got to get better at it. I have a tendency when practice is over to want to, kind of hang out, talk, watch film, things of that nature. But one thing that I've done better is leaving when there's nothing to do. Not just creating extra work for myself. I've been, obviously not where we were, but there's been times that I've been in places that just want to, work to work, and there's not really a whole lot of purpose behind it. And you're sitting there looking around at each other, wondering why the heck I'm still here, on a Wednesday night or a Sunday night, and you don't feel like there's a whole lot of purpose to it. And then you get home and you feel that pull. So I've tried to definitely leave and not be up there any more than I necessarily have to. Obviously that's not gonna, limit what I'm doing. And then, when I'm at home, I make sure that I put the laptop away, when I'm around my daughter, my wife. I try to, do those things when they're, in bed, asleep, in the mornings, at night, whatever that is. Obviously it's not perfect. And during the season, there's definitely, things you have to do. And, my wife understands that. She's awesome. And my daughter, she loves coming around the guys, and she helps me, do stuff at the field house. She was here all week last week, with me. And so they, they get it and they're awesome. But, I'm not going to get back the time that she's, 3 years old. So instead of hanging out at the field house, shooting the breeze with the rest of the coaches, I could probably be at home 30 minutes earlier, making sure that I'm eating dinner with her, giving her a bath. And that's stuff that I've tried to do, small things that I've tried to do, but I think it means a lot.
And Coach Creason, you got a newborn. You were actually in a playoff son. So things are pretty fresh for you. So
yeah.
how do you balance those demands? I know it was for a couple of weeks there, it was pretty tough. So.
Yeah. So funny thing, you have your son on the Wednesday of the second round playoff game. So balancing that was pretty difficult. I'll be honest. There wasn't a whole lot of balance. There was a whole lot of him and not a lot of football. So, but I think kind of touching on what Kirk talked about there at the end. But one thing that I think that I do that I don't know if it's unique, but it has worked for me in terms of kind of balancing that is kind of a twofold deal. But one is just involving my family in what I'm doing. They're always, my wife is super helpful with everything that we would need as in terms of our program. So as far as she'll run our fundraiser dinner. She loves doing that. It's a fundraiser we do with a big auction, and we get the community members involved. And she runs that, so she's a stakeholder in that, so she likes to be around because of that. She's even come up there and done laundry with me. I'll mow the field, and she'll walk around the track, and so just involving her and some of the things that I have to do, I think is done a really good. I guess it's helped with that issue quite a bit. But another thing is just building chemistry with the families on the coaching staff. I think one thing that I try to do every year is have a coaches cookout at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year where all of our wives get together and they become friends and they know each other and we get involved with each other's lives. So that strain of the season is kind of balanced amongst all the coaches' families, and so they have support systems outside of maybe just us that they can rely on sometimes. But I think just building that chemistry with our families is huge. But again, I think the biggest thing is just involving your family in what you're doing. If there's a reason that we're married. She knew that I was very passionate about coaching and the things to do with coaching when she married me, and I think that maybe what kept her around. I don't know. It's definitely not my good look. So I think
your personality.
Yeah, maybe that's just a way to say you're ugly. But anyway, I think just having her around and being and including her on things that we're doing, and now that Bryce is he's in the world having a 6-month-old, just to know, like Coach said, knowing when to go home, or knowing when to bring him up there. Just kind of involving the family in my life as much as I can.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, last question. So we got a listener listening right now, and they're coming into the same position that you are right now. So they just got hired. give them one piece of advice going into this year for a brand new head coach. Coach Creason, you go first.
Hmm. You only want one piece of
I'm glad
advice?
he's
One
going
piece
first.
of advice. You got to narrow it down.
Oh my God, that's tough. I think,
Don't. I'm kidding.
yeah, I think. Well, yeah, if you love football, don't do it. But no, I think the biggest thing is I'm going to give you two because I
Okay.
feel like I feel like you have to I have to do it. But number one, be authentic, be who you are. Don't try to fake it. Um, that's the biggest thing. I am who I am. You are who you are, and you got the job because of who you are, not because of who you think needs to be the head coach. I think that's a huge piece. And then trust your coaches, trust your administration. There's a reason that you applied for that job. There's a reason that those guys are doing what they do, um, even if sometimes you don't see eye to eye with some of the things that are going on. Trust that they have the best intentions too, because at the end of the day, we're all in education. We're all in this to um, make young men and young students better, and they got into it at some point in their profession to do those same things. So trust the people around you, trust the situation, um, and really buy into the whole part of the school, not just your position, but buy into everything and be authentic while you're doing
All right, Coach Brown, you've had a little time to collect your thoughts now, so let's figure this out. Let's hear
it.
this.
Trust is good. I thought about that. I think one thing too, though, is establish what you want and then be consistent about it. Don't let up. Don't bend. If you've got a standard that you want to uphold, then uphold it. I know that a lot of guys, myself included, come into things, and you're gung ho and you want it to look like this, and this, and then, like Rob talked about earlier, you have maybe certain situations throughout the week that you have to deal with and you have to be flexible. But, I think there's a difference between being flexible and then kind of giving in to some of those standards, in terms of, the certain things that you set, whether that's, the attendance, standards that you set for your team, the discipline standards you have. Don't back away from those. I think a lot of times we have a great list of things that we want to see happen, and we want to, how our programs, want to look. But at the end of the day, there's maybe some times that we bend for some reason or another, and I think that it gets easier as time goes on and as people. But you can't do it, because once they see, one guy get away with something, or, see you kind of be flexible in one part of your, of your program, and they're going to, take advantage of that ultimately at some point. So just stay consistent and keep with what you're going to say.
Guys, I appreciate it. No, this is good. I wish I could have found something like this to listen to my first year, and just to get some of those questions answered, and figure some of these things out early. And happy for both you guys. Glad you came and joined us. We'd like to thank everybody for listening to the Football Coaches Corner podcast or watching our YouTube channel. You can give Coach Brown a follow on X, and that's at Coach KB _7. You can give Coach Creason a follow too. That's at Coach Creason 66, and that's Creason. We would invite you to visit our website, which is www.footballcoachescorner. There are free downloads on there. And if you have questions, please email us at fbcoachescorner@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter. And that's at fbcoachescorner. If you have questions about the podcast, or if you'd like to reach out and connect with either one of these guys, we want to include you in your thoughts and questions to help you run your program as efficiently as you can. Our goal is to make this podcast a place where football coaches can collaborate. So until next time, continue to coach with pride, passion, and a purpose.